Tonight, reality broke. 3 times. In 3 different corners of the world, something tore a hole in our existence and walked through. Welcome to Panoramic Mystery Events, Episode 8. This is our deepest and most frightening investigation yet, linking 3 seemingly unrelated cases that all happened on the very same night. Get ready, because what we uncovered suggests that the world you know is built on fragile ground. Our first story takes us to the mountains of Romania. Just outside Cluj, hidden deep within a forest, stands an abandoned hospital. Locals whispered that it's always been there, a permanent fixture on the landscape. But historical records show nothing. No construction permits, no architectural plans, no official existence whatsoever. It's a building that shouldn't be. At 2:14 a.m., a paranormal investigation team entered the structure, cameras rolling. What they captured defies all logic. The hallways didn't just feel long, they actively repeated themselves, creating an impossible loop. The team would walk down a corridor, turn a corner, and find themselves right back where they started. Unoccupied wheelchairs rolled silently down the halls, turning corners with deliberate intent. Then, the walls began to breathe. The plaster and brick expanded and contracted in a slow, rhythmic pulse, like the ribcage of some colossal, sleeping beast. One investigator, a woman named Elena, reached out and placed her hand on a pulsating wall. In an instant, a layer of frost bloomed across her skin, yet she whispered, her voice trembling, "It's warm inside the wall." 30 minutes into their nightmare, the team reached what they believed was the operating wing. They found a room with a surgical table, but as they moved forward, they discovered the same room repeated 6 times in a row. Each version was more decayed than the last, as if they were walking through snapshots of its progressive collapse. The first room was dusty, the last was almost rubble. But the 6th room held something new. In the center stood a single hospital bed. The leather straps that once restrained patients were undone, lying limp on the floor. A single light flickered erratically above, and under a thin white blanket, a shape was rising and falling. It was breathing. With a surette, unspoken dread, 2 team members grabbed the edge of the sheet and pulled it back. There was no body. Instead, a perfectly circular hole was burned clean through the mattress, the bed frame, and the floorboards below. It looked as if something incredibly dense had simply sunk straight down, melting through every layer of material. As they stared into the abyss, every door in the operating wing slammed shut at once. The entire hospital began to shift. Hallways twisted and folded over themselves. Walls slid into new positions, and the floor tilted beneath their feet. It was a maze reconfiguring itself in real time. Their radios, which had been silent, crackled to life. A distorted, mechanical whisper filled the airwaves. Its voice layered and synthetic. It said, "We can build more rooms." Panic erupted. The team scattered, trying to find an escape from the living architecture. Only one investigator, the cameraman, made it out. He stumbled into the forest, turned back, and watched in horror as the hospital deconstructed itself. Rooms flattened, walls crumbled into dust, and the entire structure faded into the night, vanishing as if it were never there. When police and drones later searched the area, they found nothing. No rubble, no foundation, not a single trace of a building, just a patch of soft, freshly disturbed soil, as if something massive had just burrowed its way back underground. Our second event happened that same night, thousands of miles away in Kolkata, India. A taxi driver working the late shift was driving down a deserted street when he saw a figure limping in his headlights. At first, he assumed it was a homeless man, hunched over and struggling to walk. He slowed down, concerned. But then, the figure did something impossible. It stopped, placed both of its hands flat on the asphalt, and with an audible crack of bone, its legs split apart, each one dividing into 2 new limbs. It was now standing on 4 legs, human legs, but they bent backward at the knee, like an animal's. Its arms, too, were now functioning as front legs. The creature, horrifying chimera of man and insect, began to crawl, moving with terrifying speed. Its joints clicked and popped like a bundle of snapping twigs. The driver's dashcam, still recording, captured the twisted humanoid shape scuttling across the road. Its head rotated a full 180 degrees to stare directly at the car, and a mouth opened sideways, stretching unnaturally across its skull. It then charged the taxi. The driver screamed, slamming his foot on the accelerator. I sped Hawaii, his heart pounding, but a moment later, the creature was in front of him again, appearing as if from nowhere. He swerved, and it was suddenly to his left. He looked in his rearview mirror, and it was right behind him. It was as if time itself was skipping, allowing the creature to exist in multiple places at once. His dashcam footage later confirmed this, showing the entity flickering in and out of frame, appearing in 3 locations simultaneously like a glitch in a movie. Terrified, the driver abandoned his taxi and ran, finding refuge in a small, 24-hour roadside shop. He begged the owner to lock the door. Moments later, the shop's own CCTV camera showed the creature outside, standing perfectly still, silent, just staring. Then, the footage glitched. In one frame, it was standing on the street. In the very next frame, it was crawling on the ceiling of the shop's awning. In the next, it was inside the shop with him. The door never opened. The glass never broke. It was just there. The police arrived 12 minutes later. They found the shop owner hiding behind the counter, unharmed but in a state of shock. The taxi driver, however, was gone. There was no sign of a struggle, no broken furniture, no blood. He had simply vanished from the locked room. But on the tile floor, scratched into the surface as if by fingernails, were 5 words. He walks on all timelines. Our final incident from that night takes us to the desolate beauty of the Atacama Desert in Chile. A team of astronomers at a remote observatory noticed something that shouldn't be possible. At exactly 3:09 a.m., the stars stopped their westward journey across the sky. Then, they began moving backward, slowly drifting in reverse. A few minutes later, the entire sky seemed to tilt, rotating several degrees on an unnatural axis, as if a cosmic giant had twisted the very lens of reality. Simultaneously, a research crew in the desert below picked up bizarre magnetic readings and drove out to investigate. Their vehicle's camera captured something moving toward them across the dunes. It was a tall, thin figure, but it wasn't walking. It glided over the sand, its legs unmoving, leaving 2 perfectly straight, geometric lines. In its wake, the closer it got, the more the world distorted around it. The stars in the sky bent and warped around its silhouette, like light around a black hole. When the figure was just 20 meters away, reality snapped. The wind, which had been blowing from the north, instantly reversed direction. The shadows cast by their vehicle's headlights detached and began pointing toward the light source, a physical impossibility. And for 4 surreal seconds, the sun rose in the west, bathing the desert in a brief, paradoxical dawn before vanishing. The figure stopped and lifted its head. Its face was a smooth, featureless canvas, except for one terrifying detail. Where its eyes should have been, there were 2 small, clear windows. And through these windows, they could see other places. One window showed a dense, dark forest. The other showed a long, sterile hospital corridor. A voice spoke, but the figure's blank face did not move. It echoed in their minds, not their ears. Choose your world. And then, everything went black. The research team woke up hours later at sunrise. They were 7 kilometers away from their vehicle, with no memory of how they got there. All of their cameras and recording equipment had been melted into slag. The only piece of evidence that survived was a single audio clip. On it, a layered, chorus-like voice repeated a simple, chilling phrase. Night can turn. So can you. So what connects a vanishing hospital in Romania, a time-hopping creature in India, and a sky-bending entity in Chile? At first, they seem like isolated nightmares, but when you look closer, the pattern is undeniable. Each event involved the fundamental laws of reality being broken. Time looped and reversed. Physical space was rearranged at will, and beings existed in multiple places at once. Each event featured a non-human intelligence that did unjust exist within our world, but actively manipulated its structure. And in each case, a message was left behind in audio recording, a carving, a visual paradox while people vanished without a trace. Researchers who have studied these cases are coming to a terrifying conclusion. These entities are not random monsters. They are architects. They are beings capable of rewriting the rules of space, time, and matter. The events of that night weren't attacks. They were something else. They were rearranging the furniture of reality. This episode hints at a much larger, more terrifying truth. Maybe our world is just one of many rooms, and someone, or something, has just unlocked the door. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the unknown. If these stories chilled you, make sure to subscribe to Panoramic Mystery Events for more investigations into the unexplained. Stay safe and question everything.